Because that's where I always struggle sometimes is like when I'm like in video, for example, is I always feel stress about being on video. And
Mm.
sometimes I feel like there's a standing joke in my family that when I concentrate, my eyebrows come together and I look like a serial killer. And I don't always feel like I'm being natural. Like I feel like my hands are always kind of together because I don't want them to show that I'm agitated or annoyed and I sometimes think I've got this face on that looks like I'm not interested. And I
Mm.
think this is the thing that's put me off about doing video is it's what I look like. And I'm worried of looking weak or I'm worried about looking disinterested or
Yeah,
what
I
would you
think that's because there's a lack of because you're not actually there physically with a person. There's a lack of communication. You can't see my full body. I can't see your full body, so I don't know what you're thinking, and you don't know what I'm thinking, and that can give you anxiety over that. It's why we pace around the room when we're on a phone call with someone, is because we are talking to them, but we have no body language feedback. So we get a bit stressed and anxious because we're like, hang on a sec, I can't see what this person's doing. Do they like me? Do they not like me? What are they thinking? And consciously, you may not be thinking about this, but your subconscious is telling you, okay, you need to walk around, you need to get rid of some of the stress. And that's why we pace often up and down. It's to reduce anxiety. I'd say it's a pacifying behavior. Um, but yeah, it is really interesting, and I think poker players are a key example of this. They they're all about. Yeah, I don't actually play poker. Surprisingly, everyone says I should because I'd be good at it. Apparently,
I would have thought you'd be cleaning up.
but everyone asks, "Well, I play poker, so what should I do to not give anything away?" And I always tell them, the main thing is to conceal your body language. If you're sitting like this, you will always give something off. I don't know how long a game of poker goes on, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever. But to not give away any nonverbal communication in that time, it's impossible. You just can't. You will always do something, even if you actively think about not doing it. You will always give something away. It's just how it is. So I always say to them that you want to conceal your mouth. You want to make sure your hands aren't doing anything. So I can actually show you the best position for poker if anyone plays poker who's watching this. But the first thing to do is get your hands out of action, because your hands basically give away so much information with what they do, whether they fidget or move or anything like that. So you want to interlock your fingers. And what that does is it stops your hands from doing other things. You want to put your thumbs together. And then what you want to do is lean in. So what that means is when you're in a situation, your body language, your proxemics, so the distance between you and the person, changes. So say, I don't know, someone deals you get a good hand. You see the good hand, you instantly lean in. People could take that as you're interested, you're leaning forward, you're putting yourself closer to the stressor because you're confident because you've got a good hand in cards. So that people will glean that information. So the best thing to do is just always be leaning in. Don't give them any information. So what they say is to put your elbows on the table, close your interlock your fingers, put your thumbs together, and put your hand on your chin, and then use your hands to cover your mouth, so you're not giving anything away, and then just stare down. That's the best position for poker, because what it does is it stops your hands from fidgeting. It stops your mouth, if you do any micro expressions, from doing anything. It means that you're always leaning in, so you're not leaning out, in, which could give away information as to how good your hand is and things like that. And it basically just stops you from giving away information. That's the only way you can really conceal your body language. But then again, people will know that you're trying to conceal your body language. So it doesn't work if you're a serial killer, because they'll be suspecting you then.
I mean, does that work in sort of work situations? Because I've noticed that since we've gone to COVID working from home, a lot of people come on to Zoom calls, Microsoft Teams, and it's almost like there's this, I don't know, this fight, in debate, because they're in their home situation, but they're on a work call. And it's almost like they forget that they can be seen and their eyes are rolling, or they're not happy at work. How should we advise? Would that be the stance for people during these kind of work situations, or does that show lack of confidence when you're presenting? Say we're discussing this just now.
Yeah. So again, it's and this is the big debate with body language that I'm sure we can touch on later, but it's if you have this advantage, you know body language, you know what people are basically thinking, and you know what signals you're giving off. That means that you have the responsibility to control that. So it's whether or not you enact it. Now, I don't. If I'm on a Zoom call with people and stuff like that, I will judge. Okay, well, who am I with? Is it like, do I have to look good, or do I? Is it just neutral? Like, am I just talking with mates? Am I doing some work? But it's not necessarily important for me to look good in this situation. You take that into context. Now, if you're in a job interview, say, for example, over Zoom, you don't want to be doing what I told you, because that just looks wrong. You're hiding your body language. People will think that's a bit strange. Why is he doing that? So you want to really change, adapt. It's called situational adaptiveness. You want to adapt based on the situation you're in. So if you're in a work environment, you want to be confident. You want to impress. So you want to be non-confrontational. You don't want to be dominant, but you also don't want to be submissive. You want to show respect and not arrogant. So I wouldn't sit there with my fingers steepled like this, just staring directly at them, because that shows basically that I'm arrogant, and although they won't know body language, they'll get the impression from their subconscious, this person seems arrogant, this person's too dominant, I need someone. People want to be surrounded by people submissive to them, who won't be a threat to them. So a big thing with, and I'm sure this was one of your questions, like how to give off a good impression. When you're in a work environment or on Zoom or something, and you're being interviewed for a job, say, you want to be non-confrontational. You don't want to be aggressive. You want to look interested. You want to seem submissive to the person you're talking to, but you also want to seem slightly confident. And you can choose to manipulate your body language to accommodate that. And I've done that numerous times in different situations. And it's all about you and what you want to do. So if you're just chatting with mates, I wouldn't change your body language, because then you spend your time thinking about your body language and not actually talking to your mates. So it depends on the context, really.
Because that is definitely something I've done, is when I go into interviews, I've kind of got like a structure of how I want to sit and what I do with my hands and how I want to address it. Like I want to make sure I'm looking at the different interviewers the same amount of time and making eye contact, but not too much. And there is some standard things. But
so I can give you the data on, because they did a study. I can't remember what the study was, but the data, everyone's like, oh, how much eye contact should I make? There's actually stats to show you how much you should make. when someone's talking, so for me now, what on average you should be making 75% of the time eye contact with me, and then the rest you should be looking away. That's standard. If you're making more than 75% eye contact, it seems like you're a bit creepy. If you're making less, it seems like you're disinterested. When you're speaking, so for me now, 50% of the time is adequate. So I could be looking away, but so long as I'm looking at you 50% of the time, your subconscious will see that as normal and see that as that I'm interested and want you in the conversation. So just stick to that if you're nervous about, am I making too much eye contact? That's the general rule of thumb.